I'm Emily, and here for my third outdoor exploration video. Today I thought I would just explore some of the kind of roadsides around where I live. I'm in a pretty rural place, so this is not going to look very urban, but some people who live in urban areas are going to find the same things just growing between the cracks in the pavement, in the corners of alleyways, places like that. One of the things that is up everywhere right now, especially on my island, but you know, in Vancouver and other cities too, it's very, very common, is bittercress. So you can see this is blooming, and some of the seed pods are starting to develop along the sides. They look like little sticks, and eventually they'll be filled with little round seeds. Bittercress is a kind of mustard, so if you're allergic to mustard, you're allergic to bittercress probably. But if you can eat mustard, it is delicious in sandwiches. You know, people have their traditional cream cheese and mustard or cress sandwiches. Something I find really interesting just in this little spot is that the plants that are growing further down the hillside are much more kind of spindly and with fewer leaves than the plants at the top. The reason for that generally is that the water runs off down the hillside, so these are more exposed, getting more wind, more sunlight. They're basically in a drier location. And if I pull one up, you can see it has very few leaves at the bottom, and those that it has are actually already dry mostly, and a big long skinny flower stalk. One of the ones up at the top here is a much bigger, fleshier plant. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it out carefully without breaking it so you can see the roots. But so it has a lot of leaves at the bottom. The stalks are, excuse me, I got something else too. The stalks are fleshier, and generally speaking, it's better eating because this stalk here is the tastiest, most mustardy part of the plant. The leaves are tasty too. You can eat the whole thing, like I said. But yeah, it's good to look for them in the kind of the moister areas, like up there. That's how you'll find the big ones. But go exploring, see what you find. While we're sitting here, I'd like to point out this other plant, which is a medicinal. It's shown to be antiviral. Not that I'm recommending you try and cure coronavirus with this, but anyway, this is called Herb Robert. It is a kind of geranium. It gets tiny little pink flowers later on in the spring. Really pretty. It smells like geranium. It's kind of a bitter, almost flowery smell, but really bitter. And they're pretty weedy. Most people have them growing around their sidewalks or in their garden. And a lot of people pull them out, but you can actually make tea with them. So yeah, that's something interesting. Oh, there's a worm coming out. I'll just plant this again. So here, right beside the road, we have a maple tree with some lovely examples of stuff growing on it. This is a licorice fern. Some nice moss. You can see some lichen here. And basically, on maple trees especially, but other trees around here too, like alders, you'll find moss that actually creates habitat for other stuff to grow. Not just licorice ferns, but also bugs, insects, even some birds and stuff. So licorice fern is one of my favorite things to harvest, and I'm going to pick a little bit today, and I'll get not too much because I don't want to decimate this tree's resources. Basically, I'd like this licorice fern colony to keep growing, but I'll take just a little bit of the root from underneath here. This one has kind of grown into the bark. Sometimes it's really just under the moss. And you can see the ferns grow off of the root here. And then, whoops, I'm breaking it a little too much, but there's some of the root. I can take these smaller roots off the sides. Whoops, I keep dropping it. And this bigger root, which unfortunately I broke from the fern, but just imagine the leaves growing from here. I'm going to take this home and make some tea with it in the next video. So check back on Wednesday for that. But you can see as I've harvested it that it's brown on the outside, but it's green in the middle, and that's what you want. You want the fresh ones. The not so fresh ones are brown through the middle, and well, this here at this end is, no, it's green too. But when they become brown through the middle, it means that they're dry. They have no flavor, no medicine left. So I would recommend pick only the fresh green ones and only take as much as you actually are going to use. Don't use more than you need to, because if we all go out and start pulling all of the licorice fern off the trees, obviously there won't be. And in addition, this is the skin of the tree. You don't want to pull off the bark. You don't want to pull off all this moss. You just take the little bit that you actually need. And this will do for 2 to 4 cups of tea, depending how strong you like it. Yeah, just consider the future in everything you pick, please. Here's something I love. Right now, everywhere are some wild plums blooming. This trunk right here is a maple tree. Plum is actually this smaller kind of mini-armed trunk that comes out from beside it. And it doesn't make any human edible fruit, really, but they sure are beautiful, and they smell wonderful too. I thought I'd stop in right here between the sign and the mailboxes because I'm finding a bunch of interesting stuff. Here is some more of this bittercress that we saw back at my house. Obviously a bunch of grass, and interestingly, 2 different types of asters. One we know very well, this is the regular dandelions, and beside them are something called hairy cat's ear, which I just love the name mostly. We also call them stinkweed at my house because these are the ones that grow the very tall stem with just 1 or sometimes 2 or 3 little dandelion-like flowers. They're still asters, they're related to dandelions, but they stink. So while dandelions are, you know, tasty, you can eat the leaves, you can use the roots and the flowers for all kinds of edible things. You really wouldn't want to eat those hairy cat's ears. They're pretty gross. They even smell bad when you mow your lawn, but yeah. If you look really closely at them, you'll see that the dandelions have smooth leaves and the hairy cat's ears have hairy leaves. Also, they have some differences in the shape of the leaves. All those things are interesting identifiers. So yeah, shall we see what else we find? And today I present to you skunk cabbage! That is all I have to say about that, so stop filming. One of the things you find in urban areas, along roadsides especially, is invasive plants. So this is a spurge. It's populating this whole entire area of this road and up the next road, and a lot of places in BC. So I don't know what to say about this other than it's a scourge. This one is a more exciting invasive species. My brother and I used to call this the Tarzan vine when we were little. It only lived right here. And it has been pulled out by various people. We used to hang from it, but this particular one is not that strong, as you can see, since I'm just pulling it down right on top of myself. However, these are not actually Tarzan vines. They are an invasive clematis. They're not indigenous here. That's what invasive means. It pretty much means that it is a usually non-indigenous plant that is taking over an area populated by other plants and usually decimating the habitat of other species. So this vine here, it does make some pretty flowers later on in the spring, but then it grows and it covers everything. So at the point when, I think it was about 20 years ago, so about 20 years after I was a child hanging from these vines, I moved back home to my property where I and my brother discovered that these vines had entirely covered a grove of alders and choked it so that the alders were dead. And there was nothing but a grassy heap, kind of like this, but about 20 to 25 feet tall, and we could climb and hang in them. It was pretty fun, but it was also a lot of work to get it all out. We're still fighting the clematis that's growing in that area at our house, but at least it's not choking out the adult trees. So yeah, clematis, invasive weeds. See what you can find in your area because they're everywhere. So some people have asked me why I'm not giving more detailed information or more concentrated information, more longer episodes about wild food. The reason is because this video series is about exploration. You can find all the details you want about pretty much any plant imaginable online. Do a Google search. You can find more than I know even, but I'm not here to tell you the facts I know. I want this video series to be about just exploring. If you think about it, babies learn to crawl by exploring. They don't learn because they watched the video and somebody showed them how to move their legs. They have instincts to be curious, and their curiosity leads them to want to go somewhere, and it leads them to copy the sounds their parents or other people make and learn to speak. That's how we learn everything. So if my little videos inspire you to look outside and what you discover there is different than what I saw, that's awesome. It's better than if you found the same thing I found. And maybe it'll be so exciting to you, you'll go explore yourself online. Maybe you'll look up what it is. Maybe you have some identification books. Whatever it is, maybe you're just gonna make some potions, do some interesting stuff with the things you find. Climb the invasive vines, whatever it might be. That's how we learn. That's what life is about. And it's kind of my purpose in life, is just to give people space to explore. So keep watching the videos, subscribe if you like, and happy exploring.